Unpopular opinion, breathing, you're probably doing it wrong. Okay, so you probably heard that and you were like, come on, I can see you, I'm listening to this, clearly breathing. You're right. You're not wrong. So there is a more optimal way to breathe, and I teach multiple workshops on this that last for a day at least, and so I'm not going to give all the details right now, but I will tell you that there is a way to breathe and a reason to breathe that way. And let me start by saying that it is diaphragmatically, and I'm hoping maybe by now you might have heard of this. I'm going to show you a little mini demo where it is and how it works, and then I'm going to tell you why it's important to breathe like this.
The diaphragm works to help your breathing. When it contracts, air fills into your lungs. When the diaphragm relaxes, it expands and forces the air out. This is how we breathe.
Okay, so let's start with why, most importantly, is that our breathing regulates the nervous system. And the nervous system has two very important components, the parasympathetic nervous system and the sympathetic nervous system. And if you haven't heard these words before, the sympathetic nervous system is fight or flight, freeze, fawn. It's a stress response. And then parasympathetic nervous system is rest and digest. So when you breathe appropriately in diaphragmatic breathing, as the video showed, then you're moving your body into a parasympathetic state. Most people, most of the time, are in sympathetic nervous system. And sympathetic nervous system is only really meant to be used for approximately 3 minutes a day. And it was, instilled in us to run from the proverbial bear or tiger. And since we're not in that state of living anymore, at least in the modern world, we've created proverbial bears and tigers to look like deadlines, bosses, partners, children, traffic. And so we're constantly in the state of fight or flight, which in a moment I'll tell you how that completely affects our physiology. So when you breathe diaphragmatically, you're breathing with your diaphragm, and it pulls on the bottom of your lungs, so it brings all of the oxygen down to the bottom lobe of your lungs. If you are merely breathing in your chest, which really isn't breathing, we call it head breathing, is that you're only filling up about the top third of your lungs at best, and so the bottom 2/3 of your lungs become toxic, actually. But what is meant to happen when you breathe to the top lobe of your lungs is it sends blood and information into your extremities so that you can run faster or fight harder, because remember, the bear's coming at you. So it moves your power out of this diaphragmatic calm state into we have to save our lives. So first and foremost, the blood and information runs to your extremities. And then it causes the body to drop adrenaline and cortisol so you can fight harder, run faster. It also dumps a sugary substance into the blood, so it'll start to thicken the blood. So if by chance you get swiped by that bear, your blood will start to clot a little quicker so you don't die immediately or bleed out. So knowing those things that happen when you're in sympathetic nervous system, and we're putting our body in sympathetic nervous system for longer periods of time throughout the day, it will obviously create an immense amount of fatigue. You've heard probably of adrenal fatigue. You're also doing things with your hormones by not utilizing them appropriately, seeing them through the cycle of either fighting, I'm not saying we should fight, but if a bear is running after you, by all means, or running. And now there's this thick sugary substance in your blood that's thickening your blood constantly, day after day after day. So, and ultimately because your blood is being moved out from the center part of your body where all of the magic happens. Your organs are getting nourished, your breathing is slow, your your ability to focus is more pristine But when you're all up in your head, because your breath is here and it's trying to make a decision about how to survive, then you're always up in your head. And there's no room for peace or stillness or breath at all in that place. So to learn how to diaphragmatically breathe, I will post another video on how that works, but here are all the reasons why. So now that you've heard all that, read the list I just posted, the good news is that the only healing for the sympathetic nervous system is in fact the parasympathetic nervous system. It reminds me of a trip I took. Side note, I was in Belize and we were taking a hike, and in the hike our guide was talking to us about the nature that was around, and there was 2 trees that grew naturally right next to each other, and one of the trees was poison, and the one in front of it or behind it, I don't remember which it was its salve. And so you have the ability inside of you to reverse the effects of the sympathetic nervous system that we've been doing to ourselves over and over and over again, day after day after day, by learning how to breathe more efficiently, effectively, and ultimately it will bring you into a different state of health, because now the body's no longer toxic, it's able to nourish itself, you can bring yourself to the present moment. There's so much benefit in breathing as we were meant to do. If anybody listening to this has children and they're young, or you can remember when your children are young, or you've seen a child when it was very, very young, if you watch a baby, newly born baby breathe, it breathes in the parasympathetic nervous system way, diaphragmatically, and I suppose that's hashtag goals, right? Back to baby parasympathetic breathing. So look for a follow-up video of